The extreme cold arrived, and my boyfriend couldn't afford a high-power heater, so he asked me to let his family move into my villa. More people mean more safety. My boyfriend didn't act submissive for 3 days before he took it upon himself to kick out my bodyguards and servants and take over my master bedroom. His mother called me a shameless slut who had 4 boyfriends. His father kicked my dog to death and ate its meat and bones. Later, as the temperature continued to drop, my boyfriend's family used up all the food I had stored, yet he ignored my desperate pleas and pushed me out to get food. I was wearing a thin shirt and had barely walked a few steps when I froze to death in the hallway. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day when the TV was reporting the continuously dropping temperatures. My boyfriend sent me a message to make up, and I coldly smiled and deleted him and blocked him. News reports are everywhere about the extreme cold warning, and the whole country will be hit by extreme cold over the next half-month. The hot search topics about extreme cold and stockpiling keep rising. I curled up in bed, letting the familiar ringing sound keep going non-stop. Unlike the netizens who are still actively discussing ways to cope, I am not. I feel only relief and fear from surviving this ordeal. Lying in the warm coral velvet blanket, the air conditioner's warm air blows. But it takes a long time to warm me up, but I still dare not move, fearing that this would be like the last dream of the little girl selling matches before she died. If I move, I might return to that bone-chilling hell. The phone keeps ringing, a ringtone I specially set for my boyfriend, but to me it sounds particularly sarcastic and ridiculous. Last time, it was also this time, my college boyfriend Kian called me, and I answered with great joy, only to be met with Kian's orders, his parents' insults, and his younger siblings' commanding attitude. Faye, you said you have a villa here at the university, and you're not living there alone, so can I stay there for a few days? It's going to be half a month of extreme cold, and I'm staying at my hometown. It's inconvenient to do anything, especially the earthen stove. I'm afraid I won't even be able to start a fire. Also, you know, I'm very clean. I'm afraid I won't even be able to wash my clothes. 1. It should have been me helping him, but the other side of the person spoke as if it was natural. Last time, I was afraid he would not have a good time during this extreme cold, and after he said that, I agreed. I didn't pay attention to the fact that his contempt concealed such a twisted concept. At that time, I even arranged a driver to pick them up at my villa. I also arranged the housekeeper to try to meet their needs as much as possible, but I didn't pay attention to the key point. How did Kian know I had a villa here at the university? This thing was only known to my best friend. As soon as I entered the university, Kian started to chase me. While chasing me, he would cry to me about his tragic life story. His father was lame, his mother was sick, and he had 2 younger brothers and sisters still in school. The whole family relied on him to support them. I always felt sorry for him and admired him, thinking he was not easy, so I transferred the living expenses my parents sent me to him. After we got together, Kian would ask me for money more easily than ever. It made me always have only a few tens of yuan left in my phone. Once I went out and wanted to have a cup of milk tea, but when I tried to pay, I found I didn't have enough money. I called him to ask him to return 100 yuan, but he said that I shouldn't want back the things I had given him, which was really ungrateful. He even blamed me for wanting to have milk tea, saying that his mother and sister didn't even know what milk tea was. I was scared by his convincing words and thought it was my fault. Finally, a friend who was with me paid for me. Since then, I never asked Kian for money again. Looking back, the money he borrowed from me added up to tens of thousands of yuan. All of that was the living expenses I sent him, sacrificing my own quality of life. But when I wanted to have the most basic cup of milk tea, he still scolded me. A girl who had been spoiled all her life had never experienced such before. Gradually, I became smarter and no longer involved in any financial matters with Kian. He keeps saying his family is in a bad situation, that he's poor. I also cried about how pitiful I was. As for the fact that I also have a villa, I was even afraid to let him know that it was my coming-of-age gift. My best friend also guessed it through video calls with me. In the previous life, I was still too soft-hearted, but I also underestimated the most primitive evil of Kian's family. I thought that even if I let them move in, there were bodyguards and servants. They were too reckless, but I had countermeasures. Until the day they moved in, they used the excuse that outsiders were inconvenient and lacked supplies to kick everyone out while I was sleeping. After they had taken all the supplies in my villa, they even made me go out to find food. In the freezing cold, I was kicked out by Kian wearing only my pajamas, and I was already stiff all over before leaving the courtyard. I couldn't bear it anymore. I had to beg Kian to open the door and let me in to put on more clothes. The response I got was their family laughing and enjoying the air conditioning and a small heater. I thought the lady was so impressive, but she still had to kneel and beg us. Anyway, women can't be spoiled. Once they are trained, they can obediently give birth when they marry into our family. I was with her because I liked her big butt. It's good for having sons. Thinking about my past, I unblocked and deleted Kian in one go without any hesitation. Such an annoying person, better let them die on their own. I opened an online supermarket and ordered all kinds of warm clothing and emergency tools. My parents are still abroad visiting my grandmother. I called them to remind them to be prepared for the extreme cold. Although they are currently in the tropics, I'm still worried about something going wrong. Hearing my concern, my parents were deeply moved. And my grandparents also thought I had grown up and was considerate. Without a word, they gave me a black card with no spending limit. They also told me to stay at home and not go out. This is the real love I have, surrounded by love. I would never have imagined there could really be someone like Kian in the world, a despicable guy who can fake and likes to manipulate. My thoughts were interrupted by the cute fleece chocolate rushing over to cuddle with me. In the previous life, it was kicked to death by Kian's father, who said that eating dog meat could keep warm. Under my crying, chocolate was cooked and eaten. What was even more ridiculous was that, to show his authority, he forced my head down and had Kian pour the soup into my mouth. Hatred surged in my heart, but the urgent task was to go and retrieve the supplies I had ordered. The traffic in the large high-end supermarket was not very busy. With a few strong bodyguards, I started directing the purchase. In the extreme cold weather, it's important to pay attention to warmth. Although the villa has central air conditioning, just in case, I bought 10 more upright air conditioners, one for each servant's room. And then I waved my hand and bought 20 more electric heaters. I also bought 2 generators. After all, energy is very important. For daily supplies, I handed the manager the list of needs prepared by the butler, and to be safe, I bought double the amount for everything. As the staff was moving things, I set my eyes on the refrigerator nearby. I just packed and bought it, including the ice pops and ice cream inside. It's hard to imagine lying in a warm bed, enjoying the warm air conditioning while eating icy ice cream. How happy that would be. There are also hot pot ingredients, eating braised beef while watching variety shows and binge-watching dramas. This life is too dreamy. This time, I will never myself again. Everything is ready, waiting for the extreme cold. The last time I went out to walk the dog, someone grabbed me at the corner. I fell to the ground without being prepared. Why didn't you answer my call? Do you know how much I had to go through to find you? Kian didn't help me up when I fell. Instead, he scolded. You live in a villa alone. Do you understand? We are a family living with you. I'm going to bring them over now. I was stunned. I never thought that Kian would come all the way from a remote village in the south to this school in the north, and he would look for me within my activity range. I had intentionally hidden from him that I have a villa, and no one knows the address. How did he find this place? I forced a smile and asked, Kian, how did you come here? What do you mean, how did you come here? You didn't lend me your phone, and now you're blaming me. Let's not talk about that now. The total expenses we've spent to find you, including the travel cost, accommodation cost, and the phone call cost, is over 1,000. Round it up and reimburse me 2,000. I laughed at his shameless attitude. Seeing that I didn't react, Kian didn't help me up, but directly dragged me towards the residential area, due to the gender difference. I couldn't break free, and my arm was painfully pulled, probably bruised. On the way, Kian also called his family. Dad, I found her. I'll bring you back soon, I said. Women are all low life. They can't be given a good face, a few slaps and they'll know who's the real boss. You move quickly. The hotel just called to ask for checkout. Exactly. If that girl doesn't obey, you shouldn't indulge her. I was right next to him. He seemed to have no clear concept about how loud his old phone was. He even agreed, letting his parents spew out all sorts of filthy words, listening to their curses, and seeing chocolate closely following me. I no longer wanted to let them go. In this second life, I never thought about taking revenge on them. I just wanted to stay far away and cut my losses as soon as possible, but they insisted on provoking me. You have a path to heaven, but you don't take it. You come to hell without its door. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Before, I was just not thinking straight and loved Kian, willingly lowering myself for love. But this time, what is Kian? I won't myself for him anymore. This time, it's my turn to strike. Taking out my phone, I contacted the real estate developer Maverick. The property prices here are high, and the location is also remote. As a result, there are still many unsold villas in this area. The occupancy rate is only 1 family. I chose this place originally for its quietness. And now I want even more quietness. Maverick, how many villas are still unsold in this area? Only 2 villas have been sold, and 1 more is now being put up for sale again. I smiled, waved my hand, and bought all the villas in the area. Maverick called me immediately, thanked me profusely, and offered to decorate the house. I adjusted the decoration to a very cold style, too. As for the purpose of buying all these unfinished houses, it was naturally to let Kian's family live in them. At least I provided them with a villa, and they should be thanking me. As for the unfinished houses, I am willing to spend money to make them suffer, and they should be grateful to me. Transfer payment. While Kian was still being influenced by his father's twisted ideas, I calmly took the keys from the property manager. They were selected the largest villa, with high ceilings and spacious. It would surely freeze to death when the extreme cold comes. I led Kian past the villa I used to live in and brought him to the villa I personally selected for them. As soon as we entered the courtyard, Kian was shocked by the appearance of the large and exquisite villa. Pushing the door open, my heart sank again. You bought a villa, but you don't have money to renovate it. I pretended not to understand. Yes, the money I had planned to use for renovation was given to you. That's why I used to always stay in the dormitory. Now that it's vacation, I can only live here temporarily, but don't worry. This place is livable. Kian frowned as he examined the cement walls and exposed pipes. In the end, he couldn't let go of the opportunity to live in a villa for the first time in his life, so he ordered me to clean it. First, clean off the dust, then buy a few beds. My family can't sleep on the floor when they come. Also, install air conditioning throughout the entire villa. Install air conditioning throughout the entire villa. You really have nerve, suppressing the mockery in my heart. I feigned an innocent expression. The bed does need to be bought, but the air conditioner, the house doesn't have electricity yet. There's nothing I can do about it. Kian's face twitched. He was angry and told me to quickly figure out how to buy the basic furniture. He was going to pick up his family right now. I stopped Kian. Kian spoke to me in a bad tone. What now? I hesitated and smiled. Kian, I don't have money to buy the bed. Can you transfer some to me, also? The toilet and washing machine need to be bought. They all cost money. Kian pushed me away and shouted, "Where did your money go? Aren't you the one who just told me to renovate?" I used the money to pay the deposit. Seeing that Kian still didn't want to give money, I continued to add fuel to the fire. In winter, using a bucket to go to the toilet isn't impossible, but if those dirty clothes are worn for too long, they won't be warm and will have a smell. Kian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. After thinking for a while, he finally gave in. This is really troublesome. Give me 2,000 yuan and buy everything back. Also, buy me a bathtub. I need to take a shower. This is a loan to you. Don't forget to pay me back. I sincerely thanked him and accepted his first transfer. Before, when he was in school, Kian was often criticized for having a smell, so he always paid extra attention to washing his clothes, even though many of them became white and worn out from washing. Indeed, only by truly hitting his weakness would he be willing to spend money. The plan went smoothly, and I left with a light step. Everything was ready, just waiting for the good show to start. On the way, I contacted the community manager who was specifically assigned to me, asking him to arrange workers to install the surveillance system in the largest and most secluded villa. Kian wanted to install air conditioners. Right, due to the circumstances, we changed it to surveillance instead. The electricity was naturally approved. I specifically instructed to cut off all circuits except for the surveillance system. As for the surveillance, make sure it's installed discreetly. Have the bodyguard send me to the furniture store, bought 3 folding spring beds, and also a defective washing machine. As for the remaining money, it's only enough to buy a shower bucket, of course not the kind I would use, but a shower bucket made of a waterproof bag. It's not that I don't want to, it's just that there's not enough money. I can already imagine that they will only feel warmth in this cold villa when taking a hot shower. I'm really looking forward to seeing them fight over this broken shower bucket. In order to see their ugly behavior sooner, I bought 2 large family meals, as well as 6 full cups of iced cola and 6 cups of iced Sprite. They probably have never eaten a hamburger fast food before. They will definitely eat it greedily, increasing the burden on their stomachs. Also, they will probably not eat all of it at once, and will split it into 2 meals, the cold and greasy food going down, paired with the ice drinks I prepared for 2 meals, will make them feel terrible, let alone that I don't even want them to eat the first meal while it's hot. Also bought some expired convenience foods and yogurt. I just want them to have something to eat. I also bought some miscellaneous cold-natured exotic fruits. Just eat them carelessly, and they'll be silent after eating them. The most important thing is, I didn't buy them toilet paper. Not to mention toilet paper. I even carefully picked out the receipt from the shopping bag, and all the delivery paper bags were replaced with plastic bags at my request. I wanted to see just how clean Kian really was. When I brought the things back, Kian's eyes were wide with shock, his face looked like a spilled paint palette, and he pointed at me for a long time before finally speaking. "You only bought these things back. My bathtub has turned into a trashy tub." I pouted and said, also feeling It's because you only gave me that money, which was only enough to buy these things. Also, you asked for a bathtub, which costs thousands, but I still remembered you and bought you a tub, and you're still complaining." He didn't give up, and came over to question me. "Where did the money your parents gave you go?" As soon as I finished speaking, I became dramatic and broke away from him, crying, "My parents don't approve of us being together. But I really don't want to break up with you." Then they cut off my allowance. "Kian, I only have you now. Also, the last time, it wasn't that I intentionally didn't answer your calls, it was my mom who deleted your contact information from my phone. Later, when they saw I didn't contact you, they thought I had moved on, so they went back home." After this outburst, I explained all the unreasonable things clearly and dispelled Kian's doubts about me. He didn't argue with me anymore. Just decided to go to the supermarket again and told me to go with him to carry the things. I nodded meekly, but in my heart I was already cursing them. In my previous life, I kindly let them move in. They ate my food, used my things, and even didn't let me sit at the table for meals. They said I wasn't considered a family member yet because I hadn't given birth to a son, and I could only eat the leftovers they had left. But their whole family was like hungry ghosts. And no matter how much food they made, they could always eat it all clean. Most of the time, I couldn't even get a single bite. As for sleeping, they said I couldn't sleep higher than them, so I had to sleep on the floor in the balcony. Every night, I hugged myself tightly, listening to my hungry stomach growling and eventually falling into a daze and sleeping. Every time, I was afraid to see the sun tomorrow, yet also scared of not seeing it. This unbearable feeling should also be something they experience. Kian wanted to stock up on more things, but his wallet wouldn't allow it. I pretended to be shopping in the supermarket, while I was carrying big bags and small packages behind, which was very tiring, but I don't feel wronged. Instead, I'm full of energy, because I made full use of my initiative, and with the cooperation of the surrounding bodyguards. I replaced Kian's carefully selected dishes with rotten vegetables still containing eggs, and also replaced the eggs with spoiled ones. Eating vegetables with eggs is also my way of being considerate to their family, and it's a good intention to make sure they can get enough protein. The world is really rare to have a girl as virtuous as me. Back to the house, Kian just opened the door, his brother and sister rushed out, and directly knocked me to the ground. His brother is only in elementary school, but his weight is equivalent to two of me. Not only did I fall to the ground, but also the eggs I was carrying broke all over the place. Hearing the noise, Kian's mother came out. Without even looking at me on the ground, she first went over to check her youngest son for injuries, then shouted at me while pointing to the broken eggs on the ground. "3, you stupid woman. Not only did you knock over my precious son, but you also can't hold things properly. Do you know how expensive eggs are? You broke so many. Can you afford them?" His sister also shouted at me, "You dirty woman, you dirty woman." Last time, Vale was jealous of my delicate eyebrows and not only shaved them off while I was sleeping, but also cut my hair that I had kept for several years. I was so angry I wanted to get back at her. But the servants and bodyguards had already been fired by her family in advance. Alone, I was knocked down by Kian's father. "What's all the noise about?" Disturbing my sleep, I couldn't get up for a while and looked at Kian, hoping he would say something fair, but he just followed his father's words. "Dad, thanks for helping me discipline her. Women need to be beaten." Hearing his words, I felt absurd. This is what my boyfriend of 2 years said. What does it mean by helping me? I'm not his possession. In despair, tears kept flowing out. "Cry, cry, cry. Don't cry like a shameless person. You're even getting upset. Come over and do the laundry. It's your fault you got up so late." Kian's mother came out of the laundry room and with an icy, rough hand grabbed my collar and dragged me to the laundry room to do the washing. As soon as I got to the laundry room, I was shocked. It turned out that the small packages they brought were all unwashed dirty clothes. They came here intending to use the washing machine, but they didn't know how to use my fully automatic washing machine. In frustration, Kian's mother completely broke the washing machine, then she dragged me over to wash the clothes. Looking at the clothes covered in dirt and emitting a sour smell, I couldn't help but vomit. This immediately triggered Kian's mother's nerves, and she sat down at the door and started wailing. "Hey, son, look at the woman you found. She can't do any work, and she fakes being sick just to wash clothes. She even dares to look down on her own mother-in-law. City girls are just not as hardworking as girls from the countryside. Disgraceful. It's a sin." Kian was so angry after his mother's words that he pushed me into the laundry room and locked the door. "Daring to show me your face in front of my mother. You won't be allowed to come out until you have washed all the clothes." I ended up washing their family's clothes in icy cold water. It's impossible to clean thoroughly. The oil stains on the clothes are layered with dirt. No matter how many times I rub them, new dirt keeps appearing. The water is always murky and has a strange smell that even the laundry detergent can't cover up. I rubbed and scrubbed until my hands were red and purple, swollen like 10 radishes. Before I could barely finish washing, my nose was full of a strange mix of laundry detergent and sour smell. By nightfall, I was finally let out, and as soon as I stepped outside, my legs gave out and I collapsed. Kian's family looked at my frozen, abnormally swollen fingers, and probably thought I was sick. They sent me to the balcony, and from then on, I was not allowed to enter the room anymore. As for Kian, he was an accomplice from the beginning. At that time, I no longer had any attachment to Kian, only a surging hatred remained. As for the other members of Kian's family, they should go to the 8th level of hell and never be reborn. The 3 beds I bought, as expected, are for 3 men from Kian's family, Kian's mother, Vale. And I can only sleep on the floor. Even I can't sleep on the floor. After all, I'm still an outsider. I grabbed Kian's sleeve and said, "Kian, I'm a bit hungry." After hearing this, Kian paused for a moment, as if going through a fierce internal struggle, and finally just handed me a Sprite. "There are only 6 hamburgers, and the chicken nuggets aren't enough to eat. You should take this opportunity to lose some weight." He said it confidently, but he never looked at me the whole time. I wasn't surprised. People like him can do anything normal. The reason I'm still here pretending to be with him is just to take the lives of his whole family. The temperature gradually dropped, and the phone's butler was also urging me to go back, with the bodyguard waiting not far away. Thinking about the conditions here being so harsh, I don't want to live such a miserable life with their family. Besides, they want to boss me around. I wish they would die. But I'm not crazy enough to throw myself into it. I endured until nightfall, then pretended to have a sudden idea, and forcefully knocked over Kian's mother and Vale. Kian's mother immediately shouted, "You bitch, are you out of your mind? You haven't even entered the Kian family yet, and you're already trying to poison the mother-in-law." Just like in his previous life, he still likes to twist things around, using those outdated feudal rituals to discipline me. Before, I still loved Kian and didn't want him to be caught between me and his mother, so I always took the initiative to yield to Kian's mother. But now, I only feel sorry for her. She is also a victim of feudal etiquette and tradition, but now she can easily turn into an oppressor without any memory of it. Having gotten drenched in the rain, she also wants to tear up someone else's umbrella. But a pitiable person must also have something hateful about them, thinking about all the things she has done to me before. I don't feel sorry for her, she deserves it. Kian's family, when others heard Kian's mother's words, gathered around as well. Kian's father came over and slapped Kian's mother without hesitation. Others also remained indifferent, as if this was a common occurrence. After slapping, Kian's father turned his head and looked at me. He had already proven his authority, and now it was my turn to come up with a reason that would not get me beaten. I suddenly remembered that I had a cabinet full of instant noodles and snacks in my dormitory, but I forgot to bring them over. Kian's father narrowed his eyes and started thinking. Kian pushed me. "How could you forget something like that? Go get them right away. There's not enough food at home. If something is missing, you will be the first to starve." I pretended to be hesitant. "The extreme cold has arrived. It's very cold outside. I'm afraid I won't be able to come back if I go out." Last time, after the extreme cold arrived, they starved for a few days and then used a combination of threats and promises to send me out to find food. This time, they haven't experienced the extreme cold yet, and they haven't shown their true nature for food, but they are still greedily persuading me to go get food, so that I can truly become a Kian's family member. I pretended to be determined, and also took Kian's only down jacket. He was originally unwilling, but the prospect of instant noodles and snacks in my mouth was too tempting. After hesitating, he still handed it over to me. I was sent out of the house by his family. After closing the door, I heard the sound of it being locked from the inside, and Kian's father's warning, "If you don't get it back, you don't need to come back." Laughable. Who would want to go back anyway? I stepped out of the door and didn't intend to continue the act. As I stepped out of the villa gate, the guards waiting there immediately draped a fur coat over me. Riding in a car with the heater on full blast, I was escorted back to my warm home by the guards and servants. The inside of the house was as warm as the outside was cold. Upon seeing me return, chocolate excitedly circled around me, and the butler served me the warm medicinal porridge that had been prepared in advance. The steaming hot meals were served on the table. This is the life I should be enjoying. I slept until I woke up naturally, took out my phone and saw that the temperature had dropped to 50 degrees below zero, and it would continue to fall. The extreme cold has finally arrived. I called my family, and they also experienced the extreme cold, but with my reminder, they were well prepared and their daily life was not affected at all. Now, the last concern is resolved. The butler brought me today's breakfast. which was my favorite hula tang, spicy soup. After drinking a bowl, I felt warm all over. With the indoor temperature maintained at 28 degrees, I could only wear short sleeves to avoid feeling too hot. I lay in bed and decided what to eat for lunch, then went to the home theater to watch a movie I had wanted to see for a long time. After watching one, I remembered the Kian family. Switched the scene to my prepared surveillance video. And I laughed out loud as the Xia family all sat on different buckets pooping. In the living room, they finished all the fried chicken and burgers I brought back. From the trash bag's perspective, it should be Kian's family, the 3 men, who finished 6 burgers and most of the fried chicken. As for Kian's mother and Vale, they probably only got a few chicken nuggets. No wonder the 3 men had more twisted expressions. Watching their twisted expressions, I felt the stench was about to burst out of the screen and come after me. It's really disgusting and nauseating. I switched to the next movie to avoid affecting my appetite for lunch. In the past, I was always tied up with various trivial matters, unable to find 2 hours to sit down and watch a movie, only able to watch 3-minute movie reviews and pretend I had seen it. Even playing always came with a sense of guilt. Now, looking back, it's been a long time since I last did something I truly wanted to do without any burden or guilt. Let's do it now. Take up my old hobbies and explore future goals. Another 5 days have passed, and my life is happy and peaceful. Every day I confirm the menu with the housekeeper and have video calls with my family. Life is going smoothly. My life corresponds to the life of Kian's family. After several days, the Kian's family people have changed completely. They are all wearing dirty clothes, huddled together and shivering. The vegetarian food is all gone, and now they can only cook, but the vegetables they bought earlier had insect eggs, and now the bags are full of insects. Under the command of Kian's father, Kian's mother and Vale have to pick the insects out, for, even so, can the food made from vegetables almost eaten by insects be delicious? The answer is obvious. Zane just took a bite and then spat it out forcefully. The saliva splattered all over the table's food. Kian, who always prided himself on being clean, suddenly exploded, slapping Zane's face. Not satisfied, he grabbed a nearby chair to hit him. Kian's mother panicked and stood in front of Zane, but her small figure could not possibly stop Zane, who was so fat he seemed to overflow. Finally, Zane pushed Kian's mother aside and kicked her in the chest. Kian's mother cried out in agony. Zane did not stop, but instead became even more violent. "It's all your fault, you old woman, for making such terrible food, otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten slapped. My father didn't beat you enough. You really deserve it." Vale stood there in a daze, numbly watching everything unfold. In her eyes, I saw a strange and terrifying light. Kian's father and Kian, influenced by Zane, could no longer contain the evil buried in their hearts and joined the beating of Kian's mother. As Kian's mother's pleas for mercy grew more desperate, Vale, already thin and pale from hunger, slowly moved toward the food. In the chaotic background noise, I saw Vale's immersive eating broadcast. She ate quickly, even swallowing the food whole. Before long, the food of the 3 people at the table was all in her stomach. As the 3 men released their emotions, the table was licked clean of even the broth by Vale. Before the 3 men could recover from their shock, Kian's mother, who had just been screaming, got up with a bruised face and pointed at Vale, shouting at her, "I knew you were a money-eating wretch. How could I give birth to such a wretch who only knows how to eat?" Saying that, she rushed towards Vale, venting all her anger on her after being beaten by the 3 men. Her fists rained down on Vale. Vale also roared, "You act like you're not also a money-eating wretch. You can't even have children now. You're the real money-eating wretch." The 2 of them didn't back down, and their fight was so fierce that the 3 men on the side couldn't get involved. This absurd event ended with Vale being beaten by 4 people together. Vale was lying on the ground, staring intently at the distance. By switching the surveillance perspective, I saw her twisted eyes and understood the light in them, which was named hatred. After nightfall, in the extreme cold, the temperature was even more terrifying. While Zane was secretly getting up in the middle of the night to look for food, Vale knocked him out from behind and dragged him to the staircase. Without making a sound, she went back to her original place and started shouting, "Mom and Dad, the younger brother is missing. What should we do?" Kian's father did not scold Vale for waking him up this time. Instead, he urgently asked where Zane had gone. Vale lowered her head and pretended to be worried, saying, "I just went to the bathroom, and I saw him in the kitchen looking for food. He might have gone out to look for food." Considering Zane's personality, doing such a thing was not unusual. Hearing the howling cold wind outside, and feeling the bone-chilling cold even indoors, Kian's mother burst into tears. "Oh my son." Kian's father grabbed Vale's hair and slammed her against the wall. "You useless bitch. I raised you in vain. You couldn't even take care of your younger brother. I didn't mean to. I won't again. It won't happen again." Vale, speaking incoherently and with a crying tone, was explaining. but it was clear from the surveillance that she didn't shed a single tear. Kian's father, still angry, hit her a few more times, then pulled Kian's mother out of the door to go find the eldest son. Kian was nowhere to be found, and he didn't appear at all from the beginning to the end. Once they had gone far away, Vale immediately crawled to the door and locked it. Then she went back to the place where she was hiding Zane, and after a long time, Vale came out alone again. She was radiating an abnormal heat, her forehead was sweating, and her face was filled with a happy smile. What did she go and do? Before I could figure it out, Vale took a knife from the kitchen and was wandering around the villa looking for Kian. Finally, I found Kian on the third-floor bathroom, hearing the sound of water. Vale opened the Pandora's box. It turned out that Kian found that the pipes here could flow hot water. So he brought the bathtub I bought earlier here to take a bath and warm up. He didn't tell anyone for fear that the family members would compete with him. It's my fault for forgetting that the property here provides hot water. No wonder I couldn't find Kian in the surveillance, because the steam from his bath was so thick that the camera lens was covered with water mist, and it couldn't see anything. When Vale walked in, Kian felt like he was caught in the act and became angry, yelling at Vale to get out, but soon, his voice started to tremble. Then I heard a loud sound of water. A moment later, the surroundings became quiet. Vale turned off the faucet that was continuously pouring hot water. I was finally able to see the scene in the bathroom. The walls were stained with splattered red, and Kian was scattered in pieces around the bathroom. Under the moonlight, I saw Vale's twisted smile on her face. She had completely gone mad, her face filled with a twisted smile, and her whole body looked like a demon from hell. But I wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, I found it really exhilarating. Outside the door, the butler knocked to ask if I wanted a midnight snack. I answered loudly, and turned off the surveillance screen. Kian's family, not a single one will survive. Kian is dead. If Zane didn't make a mistake, he should have been dealt with by Vale as well. As for Kian's father and mother, Vale would no longer let them in, without the shelter of the house. They would only freeze to death outside. Vale will soon starve to death without food, which is truly a cause for celebration. For their family's fate, I can only say that the wheel of karma turns well. 5. In the days that followed, I comfortably stayed at home, eating, watching TV, and playing games. Life was very pleasant. This life's extreme cold lasted longer than the previous one, almost a month. I had the foresight to stock up on plenty of supplies, and with the butler, servants, and bodyguards, I smoothly got through this disaster that made the whole world shudder. On the 27th day, the sun came out, and the sunlight shone everywhere, melting the ice. The extreme cold of 70 degrees below zero finally ended, and the thermometer was slowly rising. The world finally returned to peace after the chaos. Opening the window, the outside temperature had dropped to an acceptable level of cold. The bodyguard went to check if anything was damaged in the yard and came back to tell me that there were 2 frozen beggars in the distance. I smiled and just said that the property management would take care of it. I thought of the surveillance cameras that had not been opened for days and checked them again. In the video, there were 2 broken bodies. Not far away, a withered woman with blood on her face was eating worms crawling on the ground. I held back the urge to vomit and turned off the surveillance. Soon, the sound of police sirens came from outside, and several ambulances and police cars passed by me. I knew I was going to pick up Vale, and I had no interest in getting involved anymore. I roughly understood why Vale was still alive today. She survived by eating her own brother and the continuously hatching worms from the previous eggs. A severe cold exposed too many dark sides of human nature, but even so, Vale's actions were still too shocking. Even though she is a minor, the court made a swift and severe judgment. After all, she killed 4 family members in a row, and she could not escape the death penalty. On the day of the trial, I specifically went to observe it. From a distance, I witnessed the final outcome of this evil family's last person. When leaving, Vale seemed to see me and screamed excitedly. Several men couldn't hold her back, and she was quickly given a sedative by the doctors. Facing her resentful gaze, I smiled and brushed back the hair that once made her envious and irritated in the previous life. Turning around, I left without looking back. The extreme cold has passed, and the spring festival is coming. My best friend's family faced a broken capital chain during this extreme cold, and she originally wanted to ask me to lend some money to help her family get through this crisis. I coldly refused. I couldn't forget that it was she who told Kian about my house. People who have stabbed me in the back like this, how could I possibly let them go? Moreover, it was me who broke her family's capital chain, so how could I possibly help her again? She was just a second-generation trust fund kid, and without her family's care, she soon became a half-human, half-ghost figure. This year, my parents brought my grandparents back to celebrate the new year together, in the happy atmosphere. I ate the dumplings from my memory. Later, I bought a villa and turned it into a mountain resort, which coincided with the boom in camping and outdoor activities. I made a fortune, and my parents didn't respond in the family group, but they praised me for my sharp eyesight. However, as a second-generation trust fund kid, I obviously couldn't spend all this money. I invested this money into more meaningful places to help various women in difficult situations. Some of them were victims of yellow rumors for taking out food. Some were threatened by their ex-boyfriends to release private photos, and others were girls trapped in domestic violence and couldn't fight back, including pregnant women. I provided them all with free legal aid, and gradually my charity foundation became well known. Later, there were constant media reports, and even I was named an Advanced Youth of the Year. More and more people have stood up and joined us under my inspiration and encouragement. Sunny weather, youth is now, this life. I want to be independent and clear-minded. Let's walk the path of flowers together in the future. Story 2. In the post-apocalyptic world, I was Gabriel's unattainable beloved, his white moonlight. After my death, I watched helplessly as one suitor after another tried to win him over with a facade similar to mine, yet none succeeded. Frustrated, I cursed them as fools, having watched enough of their failed attempts. It was time for me to take matters into my own hands. I am remembered by the system as Gabriel's most cherished white moonlight from his youth, the protagonist of a post-apocalyptic narrative who remains unswayable by any tactic. 5 years ago, when the apocalypse just broke out, I distracted zombies to save Gabriel during a resource scavenging mission, only to be infected and gruesomely disfigured by the virus, dying as a result. Since then, I've been unable to enter the cycle of reincarnation, drifting as a lonely spirit in the world. During this time, I discovered something interesting. I watched as one system after another brought their players to Gabriel, each employing various strategies to capture his heart. However, no matter how many came, they all ended in failure. Despite appearing tender and gentle with them, Gabriel's displayed level of affection at the final reckoning was pitifully low. In a desperate move, one of the systems conjured a body similar to mine. Thinking that a substitute might succeed where others had failed, they speculated that Gabriel remained unmoved because he harbored feelings for me deep within his heart. The systems and their players thought this strategy was foolproof. This particular player was very cautious. Gradually, Gabriel's icy heart began to thaw. His affection, which had always been at zero, started to fluctuate. He held the substitute close, utterly devoted to her, seemingly having given her his heart, just as the system and the player thought they were on the brink of success. During a final zombie siege, Gabriel unhesitatingly sacrificed the player's life, pushing her into the zombie horde to ensure his own survival. He had never loved her. The system and the player died without understanding why. Despite their efforts, they could never successfully win him over. They failed to grasp that someone like Gabriel could not be captured with mere tenderness alone. At the brink of despair, the system turned to me, as Gabriel's cherished white moonlight from his youth. If I could successfully win him over, I would be rewarded with a true resurrection. In the mid-stage of the apocalypse, the streets were chaotic and filled with refugees. A man blocked my path and began to make unwelcome advances. Before his fingers could touch me, he was suddenly flung away. A vine firmly wrapped around him, and as he tried to burn it off with a burst of flame from his fingertips, it resisted the fire. His accomplices, seeing me retaliate, gathered around, playing tough. "Ha, come on, boys, get her," one sneered. I coldly warned, "I'd run if I were you. Before I lose my temper, you think you can act tough in front of us just because you have some powers," they retorted, but before they could finish, panic set in. A massive black net made of vines tightly bound them together. The man who tried to burn the vines found that this time, they didn't react to the flames. I had no interest in waiting for Gabriel to play the hero. It was more satisfying to deal with these thugs myself. Watching from the sidelines, Gabriel finally stepped forward. "Miss, these men work for me. Could you please show some leniency?" I simply smiled. "And you are?" Without a hint of emotion. I turned and dealt with the rabble thoroughly. Gabriel, having finally seen my face, was lost in thought, unresponsive for quite a while. The system was taken aback. "Why don't you recognize him? You were childhood friends after all, and you even saved him at the beginning of the apocalypse. Wouldn't it be much easier to reconnect with him if you told him you are Nell? Has Gabriel not recognized you?" I ignored the question and instead smiled at Gabriel. "Excuse me, you're in my way." After saying that, I sidestepped him and walked forward. "Nell," Gabriel called from behind, but I did not stop. Seeing that I was ignoring him, Gabriel became anxious and quickly moved to block my path. "Nell, is that you? How are you still alive? What happened?" Gabriel asked. "You left 5 years ago and never returned. I thought you were dead." I looked at the flustered Gabriel and replied nonchalantly, "The journey has been too tough. Finding people has been incredibly hard. 5 years ago, when my special abilities first emerged, my training progressed far quicker than Gabriel's. Now, 5 years later, Gabriel, with his powerful fire-based abilities, had become a dominant leader. Nell, we've been looking for you. Gabriel extended an olive branch. Come to my base. I and everyone else really miss you. I thought of the team Gabriel and I had started, feeling a tinge of sadness. I wondered how they all were. 3. You have a major rival. She seems the likeliest to succeed right now, the system muttered as I returned to the base with Gabriel. Really, are you talking about her? I pointed at a girl who was the center of attention not far away, who bore some resemblance to me. Over these 5 years, countless contenders appeared around Gabriel, and currently, his favorite was this young girl, Brother Gabriel. Who is this lady? A soft voice asked. I sharply scanned the owner of the voice. The girl had just come out of Gabriel's room, with suspicious red marks on her neck. She also saw me. Our eyes met, and we both knew instantly that we were rivals. Gabriel, composed, said, Leona, this is Sister Nell. Tidy up and vacate the room next to mine for her. Gabriel knew I was accustomed to luxury and would only accept the best accommodations, without sharing. The girl's eyes instantly welled up. Reluctant to be away from Gabriel, Brother Gabriel, her expression was pleading. Trying to embrace Gabriel, who instinctively dodged, leaving her stunned. Are you saying I should stay with those other women? Those women, they are too filthy. Gabriel ultimately couldn't bear it and looked up at me. Nell, Leona has a cleanliness obsession. Could you perhaps share a room with her for just one night? I looked coldly at the scene unfolding before me. No worries. If she likes the room, she can have it. Seeing my concession, a glint of triumph flashed in Leona's eyes. I paid her no mind. After 5 years in this apocalypse, I was no longer the pampered young lady I used to be. Perhaps Leona was still keeping the room in that chaotic women's dormitory as a sort of power play intended for me. If that's the case, I might as well go and see for myself, for, when I pushed open the bedroom door, pairs of eyes stared at me with ill intentions. I looked up and saw a group of raggedly dressed women. The leader among them gazed at me intently. Why is there another woman who looks a bit like Leona? No wonder Leona specifically instructed us to welcome her with the old tricks. It's just a shame if sending her to the shanty area today would be a waste. Another woman, straightening her messy hair, added, except for Leona, doesn't every new woman have to go there first? Didn't Leona say the longer she stays in the shanty area, the more instant noodles we get? I furrowed my brows, observing these dirty women. Vaguely discerning their once delicate features and stunning figures, now, they all scrape by in this cramped hut by selling their bodies. These were the women of the men in Gabriel's squad. Thinking of the men who were going to attack me tonight, who also belonged to Gabriel, I walked to my bed, intending to sit down, only to find the quilt damp. Looking at the pillow, it shimmered with a faint cold light. I stood up, facing the leader, suspecting this was likely her doing, seeing my expression. The leader raised her hand to slap me. What's with that look? How dare you stare at me like that? I grabbed her arm, my expression cold. What did Leona say? The woman struggled, realizing I was not as easy to bully as I appeared, and started to falter. I released her hand. Talk while I'm still willing to have a decent conversation. A green vine sprouted from my palm. An ability user. How did an ability user end up here? You're the first among the women who resemble Leona. The woman bit her lip. We stay here for free, but there's a requirement to send one woman to the shanty area every week. The shanty area is the most chaotic part of Gabriel's squad, where women who enter hardly leave unscathed. I couldn't believe such a vile rule still existed in Gabriel's squad after 5 years. Leona, right next to Captain Gabriel, specifically instructed us to have you stay longer there. I scoffed. Her tactics were childish, even after 5 years of apocalypse. If we don't follow her orders, we starve. She wanted us to intimidate you. The women chimed in. Gabriel won't touch any woman who's been to the shanty area. The leader added hesitantly, gauging my reaction. I scoffed. Such a despicable tactic. Sorry. We need to eat too, the leader said, looking at me with guilt. I snorted coldly, releasing the woman and walked straight upstairs. The door opened, and Leona looked at me, surprised, thinking it was Gabriel. Why is it you? Seeing me, Leona's face fell, her earlier frailty vanishing. I didn't waste words. I grabbed her hair and dragged her downstairs. You're mad. I'm Gabriel's woman. He won't let you get away with this. Ignoring her, I forcefully dragged her to the shanty area, while Leona screamed all the way, attracting a crowd. If you want more people to see you like this, keep screaming. Upon arrival, I threw Leona into the shanty area that she had originally planned for me. The shanty area reeked, its inhabitants nearly unrecognizable in their tattered clothes. Seeing a woman thrown in, they peeked out, but upon recognizing Leona, quickly retreated in fear. It seemed Leona had been quite tyrannical at the base, relying on Gabriel's favoritism. It's hard to believe what might become of those innocent women thrown into this ruthless place. Leona seems naive, but her heart is quite cold. Leona glared at me with resentment, but under the pressure of my martial prowess, how could she, a delicate woman who has been unable to fend for herself since arriving at Gabriel's side, possibly be a match for me? You just wait, Leona, who had never experienced such humiliation before, said, in Gabriel's team. Everyone treated her with the utmost respect out of regard for Gabriel. Those women might as well have been her servants. She stared at me fiercely. When Brother Finn comes back, you're done for. She was so confident in her long-standing strategies that she didn't take me seriously at all. Aren't you just a strategist who mimics Brother Gabriel's favored one? What right do you have to treat me this way, Finn? Thinking of that boy who always looked at me with puppy-like, watery eyes, I laughed. Then let him come. After dealing with Leona, Gabriel knocked on my door. Nell, do you have a moment to talk? I stepped aside to let him into the room. Leona, do you remember what happened back then? I blinked, wondering which incident he was referring to. Was it forming the team with him, his confession, or that incident? After all these years, where have you been? What have you experienced? And why won't you tell me? I explained with confusion that the events of those years were somewhat blurry, and I didn't quite remember Gabriel, so I hadn't recognized him earlier. In my memory, I had only woken up a year ago, and I didn't know why I had been resurrected. And how has your ability become so strong? Could you have improved this much in just 1 year? He remembered the scene where I disciplined those bastards this morning and probed as if casually, wood-based abilities are not strong. For most with this power, it only involves healing and accelerating the growth of plants. I told him I was now just a level 6 ability user, 2 levels below him. Gabriel breathed a sigh of relief, then, as if struck by a thought, reached out to embrace me. No matter what, you're finally back by my side. This time, I will never let you go. What about Leona? What do you plan to do with her? Gabriel's hand stiffened. She's just a girl without any abilities. You understand, right, Nell? I gave a wry smile, appreciating his plight. Of course, I understand. You must have felt lonely without me these 5 years. During training, a golden arrow shot towards me with the speed of lightning from behind. I reacted quickly and jumped aside. Turning around, I saw a familiar face. Who else could it be but Finn? Nell. He paused momentarily upon seeing me and then rushed over. Is it really you? I've been searching for you all these years. I didn't believe you were really gone. Finn gripped my hands tightly. Hearing his words, my heart softened, and I reached out to pat his head. Yes, it's me. I'm back. Nell, what exactly happened 5 years ago? I didn't answer but looked past him at Leona, expecting him to explain that arrow. If I hadn't reacted quickly, it could have been fatal. Finn looked embarrassed. I heard from Leona that a woman was bullying her, and I got angry. He scratched his head sheepishly, as if he wasn't the same person who had been so ruthless a moment ago. It turns out it was Sister Nell. Then this must all be a misunderstanding. Gabriel really should have told us that Sister Nell was back. That's when Leona finally realized, I am not just another player like her. I am the very ideal she tries to emulate. She isn't foolish. Upon learning my true identity, she no longer carried herself with arrogance but looked at Finn with pleading eyes. Brother Finn, I already said that this sister didn't do it on purpose. Why are you still so impulsive? Finn ignored her and asked me with concern, Sister Nell, I heard you've been living with those women. It must be unbearable. Why not come and stay with me? Leona's eyes reddened as she realized she was unwelcome and tried to sneak away, but I stopped her. You've come at just the right time. It saves me the trouble of looking for you. Come with me to see Gabriel. I grabbed Leona as if she were a little chick and headed to Gabriel's room. Finn also wanted to come along, but I stopped him. Gabriel, now that I've returned, it's time to give me back my belongings, I said, glancing at the necklace around Leona's neck. Leona blinked and shivered. Nell, your space has recognized a new master and now has a protective function. Unless Leona dies, no one else can touch it, Gabriel explained calmly, his expression seemingly apologetic. But whether he truly felt guilty, only he knew. 5 years ago, when I judged your chances to be slim, it was because the space had detached. I stared at him intently, recognized a new master. That's just an excuse for keeping my things. That necklace was something I entrusted to Gabriel during a critical moment, but he later gave it to Leona. That was also why Leona, despite having no special abilities of her own, could still act so boldly at the base. She not only had the space but also Gabriel's favor. Immediately, Leona hid behind Gabriel, fearful of my actions. Gabriel frowned, looked at me, but did not move away. We stood in silence for a long time until I suddenly chuckled. If it has recognized a new master, then let her keep it. I glanced once more at the necklace around Leona's neck. I just wonder if she can truly keep a hold of my belongings. People were curious about my return, showing a mix of emotions. Except for the teammates who were originally with Gabriel and me, none seemed genuinely happy. Sister Nell, you're finally back. We've missed you so much over the years. Daphne gave me a big hug. I looked around at the familiar faces, all wearing similar smiles. My heart softened. Leona, once the center of attention, was now being ignored by everyone. Her face showed resentment as she looked at me with envy. She had always misbehaved, relying on Gabriel's favor. And seeing such a scene for the first time naturally upset her. Leona touched the space necklace. Gabriel didn't give the space to Nell, which means I'm still more important in his heart. On the monthly supply distribution day, Leona sat at the table like a little princess, distributing supplies to everyone. These people bowed and scraped, begging Leona, who disdainfully tossed them a few packs of instant noodles, for which they had to be profusely thankful. Go on. Are you saying I gave you too little? Have you made any effort over these years? Have your contributions to the team increased? All you do every day is eat and lie around. How could I possibly shortchange you? Do you even deserve it? Where were you when we were fighting life and death out there? Probably lying in some man's bed, she said with a sneer. Clearly, she was indulging her princess-like tendencies again, taking pleasure in withholding supplies from these people. But Captain Gabriel said, the woman began tremblingly. When Leona shot a glare, the woman finally shut her mouth. With a look of disgust, Leona tossed a packet of instant noodles at her. Take it, or else there won't even be this left. The woman, having no other choice, decided to leave. It was just a minor incident that would have quickly passed. However, suddenly, Leona looked shocked. She waved her hand forcefully, but there was no response. As if her connection with the space had suddenly been severed. How could this be? She had controlled the space for so long without any issues. The only difference was my presence. Leona looked up and saw me standing on the other side. I watched her from a distance, my expression unchanged. Leona seemed to realize something, but stubbornly refused to believe it. Instead, she continued to wave her hand, trying to re-establish the connection with the space. Suddenly, the necklace on her neck began to heat up as if it was about to explode, scalding Leona's fair skin until it turned red. Leona tried to remove it, but it wouldn't budge, and the heat was so intense that it even blistered her fingertips. She screamed in agony, and a faint burning smell almost filled the hall. Upon hearing the news, Gabriel rushed over. He commanded others to help cool it down. The temperature dropped, but the necklace began to tighten, making it difficult for Leona to breathe. Gabriel looked helplessly at me. I smiled at him and winked. My things are not so easily taken, I thought to myself. I hadn't reclaimed it earlier just for this moment. What's happening? Finn rushed to Leona's side to check on her injuries. Oh, this is an old possession of mine that someone took and refused to return. Now that it has seen its original owner, it wants to acknowledge me again, I said calmly as I walked over to Leona and gently patted her face. Gabriel, help me. It hurts so much. Leona was in too much pain to argue with me and cried out for help. Gabriel clenched and then unclenched his fists, looking at me without a word. The hall fell silent except for Leona's cries of pain. She looked around for help, but no one did. They all just watched her writhe on the ground. When the time seemed right, I slowly extended my hand, and the necklace that had been tightly clasped around Leona's neck began to enlarge and flew towards me. Leona took a deep breath and saw the necklace flying away. Despite the pain, she gripped it tightly, even as the high temperature turned her hands blood-red. This is my necklace, she insisted. The necklace was not only her reliance but also a testament to Gabriel's love for her, such a precious item, and Gabriel had given it to her instead of keeping it for himself. Leona held onto the necklace so tightly that for a moment, the space couldn't return to my hand. I looked at the stubborn woman and shook my head. With a gesture from afar, the necklace instantly turned into a cloud of dust and fell to the ground. Leona screamed. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief as the space necklace that Leona treasured so much disappeared. In this post-apocalyptic world, everyone coveted Leona's treasured possession, but since the item had the ability to recognize and protect its owner, and with Gabriel's protection, no one could take it away. But now, with a simple wave of my hand, it had turned to dust. I rubbed my temples. Despite the fear of others and Leona's hateful gaze, Gabriel had no choice but to quickly take Leona to the infirmary for treatment. Everyone, line up here for supplies, one by one, no pushing, I said, smiling as I sat at another table and began distributing supplies. The crowd hesitated, but once they saw that I indeed had supplies to give, they obediently came over to my side. Thinking of Leona's hideous expression at the end, I announced, I'm in a good mood today. 5 bottles of water and 10 packets of instant noodles for everyone. Take your time. The hall erupted in cheers. These were more items than I was originally supposed to distribute, but no one dared to say anything. After all, this was my space, and I could distribute as much as I wanted to others. After distributing the supplies, I also checked every woman's health and treated their injuries. which they were hesitant to speak about. Although I couldn't change the situation in the short term, this was what I could do for them. People whispered in the base, "What about Leona, who used to strut around because she had that precious necklace? Now that the real owner is back, it was taken away with a flick of the wrist. I always said someone like her didn't deserve such a fine object." Indeed, it was a case of a cuckoo taking over the nest. Leona and Nell's names are similar, but their personalities couldn't be more different. Nell is gentle and generous and even heals our wounds. Compared to Leona, she's practically an angel. Please, don't tarnish my goddess's name by mentioning Leona. My reputation soared these days. Only Nell is truly suited for Captain Gabriel. To be honest, I think Captain Gabriel, that dirty cucumber, doesn't deserve Nell. He and Leona are a match made in heaven. I raised an eyebrow. Leona, aside from seducing men and trying to gain favor in front of the main male characters, didn't care about anyone else. Her popularity really was terrible. Finn knocked on my door, looking somewhat awkward. "Just say what you want to say, Sister Nell. Leona is seriously injured. I know you have wood-based abilities with healing properties. Please, save her." Finn stuttered. "She didn't do it on purpose. She didn't know that necklace was yours." "Hey, I'm not the only one with wood-based abilities. Why must he come to me, unless he's trying to mend the relationship between me and Leona?" I looked at him. Compared to Gabriel, he genuinely cared for this strategist. "Sister Nell, if you're unwilling, then forget it. I'm unwilling to save her, and she wouldn't want my help either." "How can that be?" Finn was puzzled. "Go ask her and then come back to me." I shook my head and closed the door on him. Gabriel, rejected by me, understood my decision and left disappointedly. I rubbed my temples. Gabriel and Leona had fought side by side for 5 years. If he had no feelings at all, that wouldn't be like him. After that day, Finn never came to me again. He was holding a grudge, and I couldn't be bothered to explain. You can't have your cake and eat it too, compared to a man whose heart was already elsewhere. It was more important to strengthen myself. After that day, my fame spread. And not just Gabriel's team, but many in the base offered me better conditions than Gabriel's. Gabriel came to see me several times. "Don't worry, I won't run away, especially since you're here," I said with a wave of my hand. That night, I appeared to destroy the spatial necklace, but in reality, the space transformed into a stream of energy that entered my body. Naturally, everything inside the space remained intact. Gabriel had to keep me around for these supplies. Gabriel sighed. "The zombie outbreaks are becoming more frequent, and I suspect a massive wave of zombies is imminent. Next time, I'll go out with you. My special abilities can heal, and they're quite strong among those with wood-based powers." I volunteered. Gabriel nodded. That was indeed why he sought me out. "I'm more of a warrior than a healer." As the zombie charged at me, I shot a wooden arrow that exploded through its head. The zombie continued its mindless shrieking, rushing forward until I kicked the weaker ones away and chopped off the neck of the strongest among them. Zombie blood, foul and pus-filled, splattered on my face, but I paid it no mind. Wiping my face casually, I plunged back into the fray. Some of the team members looked at me in shock, but my former teammates were calm. Nell has always been fierce. I relished the exhilarating combat and the formidable power coursing through my veins. Having control over life and death made me feel secure in this perilous world. Those who are helpless can only seek protection from others, becoming utterly dependent, like a vine clinging to a man. That's why Leona and the other contenders, despite knowing their mission, still fell for Gabriel. An attractive and powerful man who could command the elements and create a safe haven amidst chaos was hard not to love. As for me, the zombie horde arrived as Gabriel had predicted. No matter how prepared we were, our defenses were as fragile as paper against the sudden appearance of a mutated zombie king. The city walls could hold off regular zombies, but not these mutations. The zombie king broke through our defenses and slaughtered the city. Our base crumbled, zombies swarming like the sea, leaving no grass growing where they passed, and we had no choice but to flee. The team members hesitated, wondering if we should keep fighting. When would it end? It might be easier to just cut our fingers, smear them with zombie blood, and mutate ourselves. The only ones unshaken were me and the team. I stubbornly stood behind Gabriel, never once thinking of giving up no matter how many life and death battles we faced. Gabriel looked at me, moved. "Nell, I know you'll always be by my side." Daphne whispered in my ear, "Where you are, Nell, that's where I'll be. We'll always be here for you." She wasn't talking about Gabriel, but me. "If it wasn't for you 5 years ago, we wouldn't be here today." Looking at my former teammates, I felt a surge of emotion. For their sake, I had to complete my plan. I couldn't let them down. Oh, besides me and the team, Leona also continued to stand firm. Even though it seemed she was destined to fail in her conquest, she had shed her rebellious streak and was obediently following Gabriel, wherever Gabriel was. She was there too. As for me, she chose to ignore me. Had she given up on her conquest? I don't think so. When the Zombie King and his troops surrounded me and Gabriel, Leona was also present. As the Corpse King broke through Gabriel's defenses and lunged at him like an arrow, Leona unleashed unprecedented speed. She dashed towards the space between Gabriel and the Corpse King, ready to sacrifice her life to shield Gabriel from the incoming attack with her own body. Her gaze towards me carried a hint of mockery. As if she had already foreseen my failure, Leona loved Gabriel deeply, enough to willingly take a blow for a man who did not love her back, even if Gabriel's heart was as cold as iron. Surely, this act must have shaken him for a moment. Blood burst like fireworks, and Leona fell like a shattered flower. Her death was tragically beautiful. If only Gabriel could have loved her, even for just a second, it would have meant her strategy had succeeded, and with my strategy failing, I would die. This was her plan, her revenge against me. Goodbye. Leona whispered silently to me. I had to admit, despite her domineering ways, she was not foolish, but Leona's hopes were beautiful, whereas reality was harsh. Strategy failed, host deceased, her system informed her. As I expected, I heard her soul's incredulous cries, saw her eyes close in despair and resignation, and I sighed softly. After Gabriel dealt with the Corpse King, we approached. I knelt down and closed Leona's unseeing eyes. She was foolish. Gabriel shook his head, emotionless. I could have easily dodged it. She didn't need to do that. Gabriel casually remarked on a woman who was willing to die for him. Let's go, he said, putting his arm around my shoulder. With the Corpse King dead, Gabriel, as a top-tier mutant who killed it, naturally attracted many survivors who saw him as a savior, but conflicts at the base were inevitable. Most survivors didn't bring much in terms of supplies, especially food. The scarcity of food became unprecedented, although we had supplies. With an uncertain future, we couldn't afford to deplete them. The struggle for resources became particularly fierce, often leading to bloody conflicts, but Gabriel was strong. I had the space, and being Gabriel's woman, strong men rallied to him. Gradually, he became the uncrowned king of the new base. I checked the time. It was almost over. The story was nearing its end. The system reminded me, not much time left. If I didn't succeed in my strategy, I would lose the chance to revive after the world reset. I remained silent, ignoring the system, which annoyed it immensely. Soon, I whispered to myself, and the time finally came. Gabriel and I stood in the vast warehouse, looking at the diminishing food supplies, our expressions grave. Now, after all these years, the zombie siege has been consuming the original supplies in your space. There's not much left, right? I shook my head, just as he said. The supplies in my space were nearly depleted, indeed, but fortunately, the Corpse King has been dealt with, and the road ahead should be much easier. Now, I'm lucky to have you with me through all these days. Thank you for your efforts. I gazed at Gabriel devotedly. For you, it's all worth it. Gabriel's eyelids twitched slightly. He held me tightly. We were inseparable, the atmosphere sweet as honey, but suddenly, disaster struck. A towering flame rushed towards me at such speed that it caught me off guard, yet, I dodged swiftly as if I had been prepared. Jumping 10 meters away from Gabriel, I looked at him puzzled and asked with a sense of grievance, Gabriel, what are you doing? Why did you attack me? Nell, the truth is you don't love me, and I don't love you either. It's all over now. There's no need for us to continue pretending. Gabriel said coldly, as if the affectionate man from moments ago wasn't him. Gabriel, what are you talking about? I don't understand, I said, my eyes brimming with tears as I looked at him pitifully. Gabriel, unable to bear it any longer, said, enough, now, aren't you tired? How can you act even better than me? You don't truly love me. I can absorb life force from those who love me, but I haven't gained any strength from you all these days, he said in a calm tone. Yet there was a hint of madness. Ah, so you've discovered it, I said, wiping away my tears and replacing my pained expression with a wink at Gabriel. In truth, I knew Gabriel was always aware that I didn't love him. We were both playing each other, using each other, and guarding against each other. He needed my space as a material base for recruiting soldiers, and I needed him as my free enforcer. Both of us had our own ulterior motives, always sleeping with one eye open. Now, finally, it was time to cut ties and move on. They knew the story of the system wasn't wrong. 5 years ago, during that resource scavenging mission, I truly did risk my life for Gabriel, drawing the zombies away to give him a chance to live. But, as fate would have it, the path I chose had a chance of survival. Though pursued by numerous zombies, the protection of my necklace and my strong abilities gave me a sliver of hope. As for Gabriel, even with my sacrifice, he was barely clinging to life. In his moment of despair, he triggered the protagonist's aura, awakening a hidden ability to devour, allowing him to absorb the life force of those who loved him. This was the real reason why the initially weak Gabriel was able to grow so quickly. The person he chose in that desperate moment 5 years ago was the only one who met the requirements within miles. Me, I was already at my limit, seeing the dawn ahead. Yet I unwittingly became a spiritual entity. There couldn't be a more ridiculous situation. I was willing to sacrifice myself, leaving all my space to him, yet Gabriel exploited me to the utmost. To call him a scoundrel would be an understatement. This is also why my space refused to recognize Gabriel as its master, instead giving Leona and other strategists a bargain. Later, as I floated in the air and watched one strategist after another approach Gabriel, I finally realized that this was a male-oriented apocalyptic novel. Gabriel was indeed its protagonist, and I was just a deceased stepping stone, all my value meant to bolster the path of the male lead. Gabriel's mental fortitude was indeed strong. He knew early on that these women who came to him one after another were strategists. He used love as a cage to trap these strategists, wrapping them in the guise of love, just as he did with me, extracting every drop of value from them. The systems believed that the woman in his heart was me, which was wrong from the start. Gabriel and I grew up together, childhood sweethearts, and in the early days of the apocalypse, I protected him without reservation. However, when faced with death, he would not hesitate to sacrifice me. He was heartless. What is love, anyway? With lightning speed, Gabriel moved swiftly towards me, leaping through the air as if he were flying. In just a few moments, he was upon me. Fireballs rained down like drops of rain, their scorching heat distorting the space around them. Powerless to resist, I could only flee rapidly using the vines, with Gabriel relentlessly pursuing me. As I ran, I shouted, "Gabriel, even if I don't love you, what does it matter? You've seen all that I've done these past days. Why must you be so ruthless?" Gabriel's movements didn't stop, his demeanor seemingly calm, yet his words were piercing. "Nell, I never wanted to kill you, but you failed to recognize your place. I brought you into the team not to replace me. Compared to me, Daphne and Finn even follow your orders, a woman's, more readily. Moreover, it's one thing to heal those women's injuries, but trying to stop their work altogether questions my decisions. And those women, they are of little use on their own. It's me who feeds them, allowing them to realize their worth. And yet, they thank you." Gabriel listed my so-called sins. I retorted, "Should they thank you instead? Why don't you ask what they truly want to do?" Most would choose to make their own way rather than live without dignity. Compared to their petty self-esteem, the strength of the team is more important, Gabriel arrogantly claimed. During our exchange, Gabriel had cornered me, and my situation was dire. "Gabriel, I beg you, please spare me. I didn't mean to do it. I won't do it again. I'm too scared to, please." I pleaded desperately as I backed away, my expression one of distress, begging Gabriel to spare my life. "Aren't you afraid that killing me will drive Daphne and the others away?" I tried to persuade him to change his mind. "They've served their purpose already. Now, those who are with me will prosper, those against me will perish." Gabriel scoffed dismissively. "Nell, stop struggling. Surrender now. For old time's sake, I'll grant you a dignified death." Gabriel was confident, after all. His fire abilities were a natural counter to my plant-based powers, and his skills were superior to mine. It seemed I had no chance against him. He mercilessly raised his hand, preparing for the final, fatal blow. Seeing Gabriel so determined to win, I laughed. "Please, I'm tired of acting all the time. Damn it, I hate pretenders." To Gabriel's utter shock, my wooden arrow pierced his chest, tearing through his heart. As blood gushed out like a fountain, Gabriel was dead, the male lead, dead by my hand. In an instant, he looked at me incredulously before he died. "How could you? How could I?" I chuckled lightly. "How could I be so powerful? How could I kill you? I always could." I brushed past his cheek, whispering in his ear, "If it weren't for the fact that only you could kill the zombie king, I wouldn't have kept you around for another day. Your performance just now was satisfactory, very thrilling, fitting perfectly the stereotype I had of you. So, you can die peacefully now. And don't worry, I'll make sure you look good in death. Like Leona." Gabriel died with his eyes wide open. The system exploded. "You actually dared to kill the male lead. I declare your quest a failure. Continue being a lonely ghost. I should never have given you this chance." I couldn't be bothered to listen to its prattle, effortlessly. I crushed him with my hand. He should have considered that if I could kill the protagonist, what threat could he possibly pose to me? "Master, can I eat this energy ball?" A charming little boy popped out from the palm of my hand. "Of course, you can." I nodded indulgently. It was meant for you after all. My successful resurrection and revenge were largely due to this little energy ball. After my death, the only reason I could exist as a spirit was because of the energy from the space. The system thought they had found me, but in reality, I was waiting for them. Once resurrected, the necklace recognized its new master and fully integrated into my body, unleashing its true power. Gabriel refused to give me the space, opting instead to leave it for Leona, not because he cared much about her, but because he found her easier to control. She was hopelessly in love with him, such a treasure, though he couldn't make it recognize him as its master. He still wanted to keep it tightly in his grasp. What he didn't anticipate was my ability to control the space, even forcing it to detach from Leona, thanks to the space necklace. No matter how well I acted, Gabriel's suspicious nature would never have allowed me to stay by his side, but with the space in my possession, he had no choice but to trust me, use me, allowing me to allocate all resources and win people over. But I was not there for his use. The city was being rebuilt, and order was being restored. I stood on the high wall, tying up loose ends. Without the zombie king to lead them, the zombie hordes became disorganized and scattered. No longer concealing my power, I radiated a formidable aura. All the supernatural beings followed my commands, methodically dealing with the remaining zombies. The city walls were splattered with the foul-smelling yellow-green pus of zombies, who scurried in all directions, gradually dispersing, although many zombies remained. They could no longer swarm as before. The gray clouds in the sky cleared, and a beam of light descended, healing the wounds of the warriors who had just fought valiantly. I stood in the center of the city wall, spotless, with a breeze carrying a hint of hope brushing past me. Behind me, a crowd cheered for me along with a grand martial tribute. This was my glorious era.